Whispers travelled on the wind. They spoke of an ancient evil, a creature of the night. His name, whispered in fear, was Pennywise. A vampire, they said, cursed to walk the earth for eternity. He was a predator in the shadows, preying on the unsuspecting. His legend was etched in the very fabric of time. Tales passed down through generations spoke of his chilling presence. His eyes, they said, could pierce your very soul. A sinister smile played upon his lips, a promise of both pleasure and pain. Some dismissed the stories as mere folklore, the ramblings of frightened minds. But deep down, a primal fear lingered. The unknown held a certain power. It festered in the darkness, waiting to be unleashed. The truth, however, was far more terrifying than any whispered tale. Pennywise was real, and he was coming. The town of Hollow Creek was shrouded in an almost perpetual twilight. Towering trees, gnarled and ancient, choked out the sunlight. Shadows danced in the gloom, whispering secrets best left unheard. The townsfolk were a stoic bunch, hardened by generations of hardship and a lingering sense of dread. They kept to themselves, their faces etched with a weariness that spoke of long-forgotten horrors. The air itself felt heavy, laden with a palpable sense of foreboding. An unnatural stillness hung over Hollow Creek. It was as if the town itself was holding its breath, bracing for the storm that was to come. It was here, in this forgotten corner of the world, that Pennywise chose to make his presence known. His arrival, like the calm before a tempest, would shatter the fragile peace that held the town captive. Pennywise possessed a charm that was as alluring as it was unsettling. He moved with a grace that belied his predatory nature. His voice, a silken whisper, could soothe the most troubled soul or send shivers down your spine. His eyes, however, held the true measure of his menace. They shimmered with an unnatural light, reflecting an ancient hunger that could never be sated. To look into them was to stare into the abyss, to glimpse the darkness that lay at the heart of all things. He wore the guise of a gentleman, his attire impeccable, his manners refined. But beneath the veneer of civility lurked a creature of pure instinct, a predator who reveled in the terror of his prey. His arrival in Hollow Creek did not go unnoticed. Whispers followed him like shadows, spreading fear and uncertainty like a contagion. He was a captivating enigma, a puzzle that no one dared to solve. Pennywise thrived on the fear of others. It was his sustenance, his lifeblood. And so he began to weave a tapestry of terror, a masterpiece of manipulation designed to draw out the deepest fears of the unsuspecting townsfolk. He preyed on their vulnerabilities, their insecurities. A whispered word here, a suggestive glance there. He planted seeds of doubt and suspicion, turning neighbour against neighbour. He was a master manipulator, a puppeteer playing with the lives of those around him. He delighted in their fear, their confusion. Their terror was music to his ears, a symphony of screams that echoed through the empty streets of Hollow Creek. The townsfolk, blinded by their fear, were easy prey. They fell into his traps, their minds clouded by the insidious poison of his influence. They became puppets, dancing to the tune of his malevolent will. Section 5, Shadows of Dread. A palpable sense of dread settled over Hollow Creek. The shadows seemed to deepen, stretching out like grasping claws. The air grew colder, as if a winter wind had swept in from some desolate wasteland. Strange occurrences plagued the town. Objects moved on their own, shadows danced in the periphery. Whispers followed people down empty streets, their voices a chilling echo of their deepest fears. Sleep offered no escape from the nightmare that had enveloped Hollow Creek. Nightmares plagued the townsfolk, visions of blood-red eyes and a chilling smile that promised unimaginable pain. Fear, like a virus, spread through the town. It infected every aspect of their lives, poisoning their thoughts, their relationships, their very souls. Hollow Creek, once a place of quiet despair, had become a breeding ground for terror. Section 6. The Sheriff's Suspicions. Sheriff Brody, a man hardened by years of service in the unforgiving wilderness, felt a growing unease. He had seen his fair share of darkness, But there was something different about the events that plagued Hollow Creek, something sinister, something unnatural. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The townsfolk, usually a stoic and self-reliant bunch, were on edge. Their faces were etched with a fear he had never witnessed before. His gaze fell upon the newcomer, Pennywise. There was something about the man, an aura of menace that sent chills down his spine. He couldn't put his finger on it, but he knew deep down that Pennywise was at the heart of the town's growing darkness. Brody vowed to get to the bottom of the mystery that shrouded Hollow Creek. He would uncover the truth, whatever the cost. Little did he know he was embarking on a journey that would lead him face to face with an ancient evil. Section 7. A Glimmer of Hope. Amidst the growing darkness, a glimmer of hope emerged. A young woman named Sarah, new to Hollow Creek, refused to give in to the fear that had gripped the town. She had faced darkness before, and she would not cower from it now. Sarah possessed a strength that belied her delicate frame. She had a sharp mind, a keen eye for detail, and an unyielding determination to uncover the truth behind the horrors that plagued Hollow Creek. She began to investigate the strange occurrences, piecing together the clues, connecting the dots. She refused to believe that the shadows held all the answers. There had to be a logical explanation, a way to break the curse that held the town captive. Her investigation led her to the town archives, where she unearthed ancient texts and forgotten lore. She learned of Pennywise the vampire and the curse that bound him to Hollow Creek. She also discovered, to her horror, that she was not just investigating the town's history but her own destiny. Section 8. The Curse Unveiled. The truth, when Sarah finally uncovered it, was more terrifying than she could have imagined. Pennywise was not just a vampire, he was a creature of pure darkness, a being of immense power who fed on the fear of mortals. He had been drawn to Hollow Creek centuries ago, drawn by the darkness that lingered in the hearts of the townsfolk. He had cursed the town, binding it to him, making it his own personal playground of terror. The curse, she learned, could only be broken by a descendant of the one who had summoned Pennywise in the first place. A descendant who possessed a pure heart and an unyielding will. Sarah's blood ran cold as she realized the truth. She was that descendant. The fate of Hollow Creek and her own soul rested in her hands. Section 9. Into the Abyss. Armed with the knowledge of the curse, Sarah knew what she had to do. She had to confront Pennywise, to face the darkness that haunted Hollow Creek. It was a daunting task, but she would not back down. The lives of the townsfolk and her own freedom depended on her. She ventured into the heart of the darkness, into the belly of the beast. The air grew heavy. The shadows seemed to press in on her, whispering doubts and fears into her mind. But Sarah pressed on, her resolve hardening with each step. She found Pennywise in the old abandoned church, the very place where he had first been summoned. He was waiting for her, a sinister smile playing on his lips. "You cannot defeat me," Pennywise hissed, his voice a venomous whisper. "I am the darkness, and the darkness is eternal." Sarah stood her ground, her gaze unwavering. "We'll see about that," she said, her voice trembling slightly.